A 15-year-old Amish boy and his father were visiting a mall for the very first time. They were amazed by everything they saw, but nothing fascinated them more than the two shiny silver walls that moved apart and then slid back together. "Father, what is that?" the boy asked. His father, who had never seen an elevator in his life, said, "Son, I have never seen anything like this. I have no idea." As they stood watching, an older woman in a wheelchair rolled up to the mysterious doors and pressed a button. The walls opened, she wheeled herself inside, and the walls closed again. The lights above the doorway began to blink in order, one number after another. They stared in amazement as the numbers reached the top, then began moving in reverse. Finally, the silver walls opened again, and out stepped a stunning 24-year-old blonde. The father, still staring, leaned toward his son and whispered, "Son, go get your mother."
Indian taxi driver. If you've ever had an Indian taxi driver, you'll love this one. A drunken, totally naked woman jumped into a taxi in London, United Kingdom. The Indian driver shook his head, opened his eyes wide, and stared at the woman. He made no attempt to start the cab. "What's wrong with you, love? Haven't you ever seen a nude woman before?" "I'll not be staring at you, lady. I am telling you that would not be proper where I am coming from." "Well, if you're not bloody staring at me, lovey, what are you doing then?" "Well, I am looking and looking, and I am thinking and thinking to myself, where is this lady keeping the money to be paying me?"
The day my husband made a pharmacist regret his career. My husband walked into a pharmacy and asked to speak with the pharmacist on duty. As he waited, he took out a small brown bottle and a teaspoon, placing them carefully on the counter. The pharmacist walked over, smiled, and asked if he could help. My husband said, "Yes, could you please taste this for me?" Since my husband was obviously older and with several customers now watching, the pharmacist reluctantly agreed. He took the spoon, dipped a small amount of the liquid, tasted it, and swished it around. Immediately, his face twisted in disgust. He spat it onto the floor and started coughing uncontrollably. When he finally finished, my husband looked him straight in the eye and asked, "Now, does it taste sweet to you?" Still gagging and shaking his head, the pharmacist shouted, "No, not at all." My husband sighed in relief and said, "Oh, thank goodness. My doctor told me to have a pharmacist test my urine for sugar."
Wife buys a parrot with a shady past. What it said to her husband was priceless. A woman went to a pet shop and spotted a large, beautiful parrot with a sign on its cage that said $50. "Why so cheap?" she asked. The shop owner replied, "Well, this parrot used to live in a place where the conversations weren't exactly family-friendly. Sometimes it says things it probably shouldn't." The woman laughed and decided to buy it anyway. She brought it home, set up the cage in the living room, and waited to see what it would say. The parrot looked around and said, "New house, new lady." Amused, she thought, "That's not too bad." A little later, her two teenage daughters came home. The parrot looked at them and said, "New house, new lady, new girls." They all laughed. Then her husband, Keith, walked in from work. The parrot took one look at him and said, "Hi, Keith." A boy and his grandpa were raking leaves in the yard when the boy spotted a worm struggling to get back into its hole. He said, "Grandpa, I bet I can put that worm back in the hole." Grandpa replied, "I'll bet you $5 you can't. It's too wiggly to go back in there." The boy ran into the house and came back with a can of hairspray. He sprayed the worm until it was nice and firm, then carefully slid it back into the hole.
Grandpa was impressed and handed him $5, then took the hairspray and went inside. 30 minutes later, Grandpa came back out and handed the boy another $5. The boy said, "But Grandpa, you already paid me." Grandpa grinned and said, "I know, that one's from Grandma."
Socks always vanish in the dryer. Blaming each other for it was more fun than finding them. This Saturday, Martha stood over a mountain of unfolded laundry, holding up a single lonely sock. "George, where's the other one?" George peeked over his newspaper. "Probably ran off with my patients." Martha scowled. "I swear, you eat them in your sleep." George shot back. "And I swear you shrink my shirts on purpose so I look like a sausage at church." Fed up, Martha tossed the sock at him. "You think the laundry fairy does all this?" George shrugged. "If there was a laundry fairy, she'd be charging me rent." Just then, their dog trotted through the living room, sock dangling from his mouth. Both froze. George grinned. "Well, look at that. Even the dog thinks you're bad at folding." Martha smirked. "No, he just knows you'll never bend down to pick it up." And so, the laundry pile remained untouched, because in their house, sarcasm always got folded first.
A man comes walking out of a brothel. Right as he walks out into the street, there's a little boy, smiling and pointing at the man, saying, "I know what you've done. Ooh, I know exactly what you've done." The man is red with embarrassment. "Would you keep it down, son?" he said, and gave the boy $10. "Take this and forget you ever saw me." The man then hurries away, and after walking for a little while, he gets home. When unlocking his front door, he looks behind him to see the same little boy from outside the brothel, who'd apparently followed him home. "Now I know where you live," the boy shouted with a huge grin on his face. The man walks over, slips the boy another $10 and tells him sternly, "Take this and keep your mouth shut about all this. Now scram." Later that night, the boy's mother found the $20 in his pocket and demanded to know how he'd come by them. The boy eventually told her, and she was furious with him. "Tomorrow, you're going to church first thing in the morning. You'll confess to what you've done, and then you're going to donate every single penny of your blackmail money," she told him. So the next morning, the boy goes to church as instructed, where he enters the confessional. He makes the sign of the cross, getting ready to start his confession. He looks up through the window. His face lights up, and he says, "Now I know where you work."